Well, the government first promised to be a 50%, the largest investor, 50%, up to 50%. And so it was my job to get the other 50%. Of course, it turned out that even though the premier promised that the government would invest 50% in TSMC, I still had to get the bureaucracy's agreement, which took actually not just a few months, but also a lot of heartache.
Yes.
You know, yeah,
patience of a saint.
Patience, yeah. But of course, the harder part, of course, was to get the other 50%, and the premier told me that I needed to get a technology, a multinational technology company to be an anchor investor. And then if I get this multinational technology company to be the anchor investor, then it would be easier. He would help me to get the rest from Taiwan business community. So I spent about 8 months to get Philips. Well, actually, I had written letters to a lot of people: Intel, TI, Toshiba, Hitachi, NEC, Sony. And actually, 3 companies gave me presentation opportunities. Intel did, you know. I wrote to Gordon Moore, and Gordon wrote back that he said that I have asked Craig Barrett, who was at that time his CTO, I think, to see me. So I talked to Craig twice, 2 separate occasions, but at the end of the second occasion, he said, no, we're not interested. And TI the same way. Saw him twice, saw TI twice. I went to Dallas twice. And the same way, at the end of the second meeting, he said no. Mark Shepard said no.
Too bad for him, huh?
Well, but the only company that appeared to be interested, genuinely interested, was Philips.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, I had wanted somebody better in technology, and Philips, in terms of semiconductor technology, I had described them as being in the first row of second-raters, but I had to settle. I had to settle for them. Yeah,
interesting.
So I got them. And they invested 28%. So I had 48%. It turned out to be 48% from the government, Taiwan government, 28% from Philips, and then the remaining 24%, I guess, I got from about 12 or 13 companies. And that was very interesting too. What generally happened was that one of the ministers in the government would call a businessman in Taiwan and told him that he would send me to give a presentation to that businessman to get him to invest. So I was on that kind of trips, you know, 12 times. And there was one pretty big investor, a 5% investor, that actually bought when the Minister of Economic Affairs in Taiwan first called him and told him that he wanted to send me. He said, okay. So I went there actually 3 times, 3 separate times. And I mean, he and his staff sat down with me for dinner. And none of those people knew anything about semiconductors. But they would keep quizzing me, at dinner. And I wasn't even able to, I didn't even have time to eat anything. And it was, twice. This happened 2 times, dinner 2 times. Dinner and interrogation, 2 times. And then he called the Minister of Economic Affairs, the big businessman, called the minister back, said, no, I'm not going to invest. Well, the minister, of course, was unhappy, but he told the premier that. The premier said, let me call this guy. And so the premier told me later that he called this guy. And the premier also told me, he said, I told him, the government has been very good to you in the last 20 years. You better do something. You better do something for the government now.
Well, that worked. That worked.
That worked.
Any way you can get the money, I guess.
That worked, yeah.